Hi, this is Pastor John David, and today we're going to be talking about Maundy Thursday. And Maundy Thursday is the day that a lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened the day before on Tuesday. Wednesday, they kind of chilled out with Jesus and his disciples. Thursday is when a lot of stuff went down, and so I want to show you just a few things. I mean, there was so much in the biblical account here within the Gospels of but Jesus had his Passover with his disciples, his last Passover. He had done the Passover every year of his life. He was a Jew, and they did Passover where they celebrated the freedom from the Israelites' freedom from captivity of the Egyptians. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do a Passover and see what that's like. And Jesus turned his Passover into what's now called by Christians the Lord's Supper and what that means. And so it's a beautiful, if you would want to learn what a Passover is and what it looks like, you should do that sometime and see what's going on, what really is a Passover and how Jesus incorporated it. It'll help you understand the biblical account so much better in the New Testament. Anyway, later after the Passover, he went to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples, and they sang a song. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then Peter promises that he's never going to betray Jesus. That's a good one. And then he is betrayed by Judas. And so let's get into some of this real quick. Just want to show you a few things. It's really, really fascinating account. Here is what it looks like. It might have looked like the Lord's Supper table. This is a traditional table setting for a Passover in biblical times. They sat in a U-shaped table like this, and this is what it would have looked like for Jesus and his disciples to have the Passover dinner together. And it says on Luke 22:1, and then later on in a few other passages later, the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, which is called the Passover, was approaching. Then came the first day of unleavened bread, in which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. And Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover for us, so that we may eat it." And they said to him, "Where do you want us to prepare it?" And he said to them, "When you have entered the city, a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house that he enters, and you shall say to the owner of the house, 'Teacher says to you, where is the guest room in which I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large furnished upper room. Prepare it there." And they left and found everything just as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover. This is traditionally what has been called the upper room. If you go to Israel in Jerusalem, there's a room here. It looks like this. This is actually it, where they celebrated. From what we understand, this is the traditional site where the Passover was celebrated. Now, it's been redone over the years. There was a church there. There was a mosque there. There was all kinds of things that happened. But this is pretty good evidence that this is the place where it happened. And, you know, Jesus' disciples did the Passover there, and he instituted the Lord's Supper to remind them of the covenant that God had given them to forgive them of their sins with his blood and his death and his body being broken on the cross. And I still think the disciples were like, "What? We still don't understand what you're doing." Because later on in the account, it says they go to the garden and they pray in the garden. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the garden, Mount of Olives. You will all fall away," Jesus told them, "for it is written, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered.' But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter declared, "Even if all fall away, I will not." And there's this whole thing about them. They actually got into a fight again about who was the biggest and greatest, going to be the greatest in the kingdom. It says, "I tell you the truth," Jesus answered. "Today, yes, tonight, before the rooster crows twice, you yourself will disown me 3 times. Peter insisted emphatically, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." All the others said the same. So there's that whole thing about the disciples really still not getting this whole thing and being betrayed by Judas, and they still weren't getting what was going on. Even he told them, "I'm going to go die for you right now, later this evening or tomorrow." And then it says in the gospel accounts that it says in Mark 14:41, "Are you still sleeping and resting?" So he went and he prayed his prayer, And it says, "Are you still sleeping and resting? It is enough. The hour has come. Behold, the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. Behold, the one who betrays me is at hand." Immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, came up, accompanied by a crowd with swords and clubs, who were with from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now he who was betraying him has given them a signal, saying, "Whoever I kiss, he's the one. Seize him and lead him away under guard." And so there's that betrayal where Judas betrays them in the end. And that's really the question is, what do you do when it is dark? What do you do when times are dark? What do you do when things don't go the way you think they were supposed to go? And when God doesn't act even the way you think he's going to act? We all know afterwards that God had a plan. He was going to resurrect Jesus. He was going to die for our sins and bring about salvation. He was going to give the gospel to all the nations. But at that time, they were still thinking, kingdom now, kingdom right here in Israel. Messiah's going to come back. This is it. We're going to live it. The kingdom's going to happen right now before our very eyes. And that's where it's just like, wow, they were disappointed with God. And my question for you today on this Maundy Thursday is, what do you do when you're disappointed with God? What do you do when things don't go the way you want and you expect and you're hoping and you're desiring? Even as you're praying, things don't happen the way you want. It's easy to be discouraged. It's easy to lose hope. It's easy to even fall away, to start going, why am I even doing this Christian thing? Why am I even serving God? And it's easy even to deny at this point. And that's where we have to keep our eyes on the promises of the Lord. He has stuff going on that we do not see. And this is not about us. God has a plan bigger than us, bigger than even your will. Even Jesus was like, God, you're doing something bigger. Not my will be done, but yours be done, on that prayer in Gethsemane on Thursday. So you think about your life and go, Lord, where do I feel you're failing me? Where do I need to get over myself and realize it's not about me, it's about you and your will. And Lord, may your will be done in my life. Even though I don't see how this all works, even if I don't see that the dark times and the struggles I'm going through are actually part of your plan, I don't understand how that works, I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to wait to see what you do. I hope you have a great Easter. I hope you have a great Thursday today. Be blessed. We'll see ya mañana.